Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Wish You Were a Beer Show. Thank you so much for swinging by. If you're unfamiliar with us, this is a weekly beer show that we do every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, here through YouTube. We also stream it live on Facebook and Twitter as well. So take your given, poison of where you like to doom scroll and find us wherever you can. All of our social media is down at the bottom, except for our threads. That's relatively new. But somehow we still have more followers there than TikTok. I don't know how that works.
We're deep in threads at this point. We've made so many sweaters.
But make sure you follow along on our social medias. We play around a lot on social media individually and as the show. So come find us there. Find us on Untapped. Hang out with us wherever you can find us. But also, if you go to our website, wishyouwerebeershow.com, you can go through the entirety of our catalog of shows in the past. We have a great merch site that has all kinds of shirts, hats, dumb things that everyone obviously needs. Phil has a beautiful Wish You Were a Beer shirt on. I have an episode style Wish You Were a Beer show that's apricot or apricot.
You still haven't figured that out.
Still haven't figured it out. True story. Dave, there are no women on this show, so if you close out your tap now, I understand. Vero hit the nail on the head. It's the Wish You Were Bro show.
You know what? Like we always say, everyone really loves a beer show that's just a bunch of dudes talking about beer.
Just a couple of white bearded guys talking about the industry.
Yeah, it's a rare thing, what we're doing here. There's not a lot of us out there.
No, very few. We're probably the only ones worth following as well, but that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, especially their TikTok, because we're huge on there.
Blowing up. Huge.
It's massive.
Keep up on that. You're going to don't want to miss that boat. Thanks again, everybody, for stopping by. It's crazy to me that anybody stops by and watches this show. We really appreciate it every week. And it's what keeps this interesting for us, other than having interesting beer and interesting guests. It's always fun to know that people are enjoying it and people are keeping up with it, and hopefully seeking out the beers that we have on the show, because that's one of the goals for us. If we're having a good beer, we like the beer, we speak highly of it, we have a guest on, go find that beer. It's typically well worth it, because if it wasn't, by now you should know that we'll shit on it. Yeah.
That's all we do. That's actually the point of the show, and I feel terrible for our guest tonight, but we are going to shit all over this beer.
It's the only goal.
I got you here. We got you on the show, and then we just trash it. That's our goal.
No, please.
But I mean, for me, I've really enjoyed doing this show because, when we started this, I drank beer. I just didn't know much about it. And Fair. It's been a hell of a ride learning all about the industry. And, having people on is one of my favorite things because I get to learn even more about this industry. So I've enjoyed it because I've tried so many new beers.
Yeah, your Untapped has really taken off since we opened it for you while we were together.
Yeah, very drunk, we opened me an Untapped, and it was going well for a while there until I moved to the Caribbean, and now it's all I can drink is this local SXM beer.
Ah, beautiful. Look, Tiffany, our normal third co-host, is just in the comments section watching the show tonight, which is fun. Tiffany, I am so glad you made it to DC from New Jersey. I'd say you're in a better place, but six of one, half a dozen of the other. So if you've been keeping up on the show within the past couple of weeks, we've started doing a couple of new things on the show and trying a new streamline of things. One thing that we've been doing is a beer news section at the front end of the show every week, where we take something from the headlines of beer. Maybe it's craft beer, maybe it's massive craft beer, or maybe it's the guy down the street who sells and has a bottle shop. But this week I thought it was really important and really interesting that Anchor Brewing, who's been in San Francisco and a staple to the craft beer world for 127 years, is going out of business, which is just crazy to me. So if you're a fan of the show, you know that Tiffany loves this beer. It's close to her hometown. It's close to her heart. This is also some of the first craft beer that, if you've been into craft beer for a long time, you probably had an Anchor Steam beer as one of your first craft beers, because that's how long they've been around. So I thought it was really interesting. So They got purchased by Sapporo in 2017. You know, one of the massive beer conglomerates that buys all of your craft beer. That's no longer craft beer, even though it has its own little subsidiary. But they were hoping for a buyer to buy the brand out separate from Sapporo. Last minute, it did not work out, and that deadline was yesterday. So chances are they are actually just going to liquidate and cease to be a brand.
That's wild.
I think it's crazy for a brand that's that well known. It always makes me think of like business in general, not just craft beer business, but business in general. No one really is safe. I don't care how big you are. I don't care how much money you make. Like, what do you want? And I agree, Dave. I do think Sapporo fucked them over as well. I'm sure there was a lot of different workings in there that I'll never understand. But I think anytime you get bought by a large company like that, I'm glad that they kept the brand. I'm glad that they continue to manufacture the brand, because sometimes that's not even a thing. It's just a complete like overhaul and takeover. But there's a part of me that thinks Anchor had some responsibility in their declining sales, despite being with one of the largest beer owners in the world. Like, how there's got to be there's two people involved in that situation. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but
what's crazy about it. So as a kind of a, like we were saying, where I haven't been a huge beer drinker my whole life. So when you sent me the article about this, I was like, I know this brand, but I couldn't picture it. Yeah. And then when I brought up this, I was like, oh, I know those beers. And I'm like, they always look like they're collecting dust.
Correct.
And for me, it's like, yes, it's a great brewery, great brand and everything, but it looks like they haven't updated anything in a very long time to me.
And that's fair. And I think I think that's a valid point in the sense of, we talk a lot about can art on this show. We talk a lot about variations in beer and huge, crazy adjuncts and how crazy you can go or how responsible you can be with like the original, like purist laws. And I think they fell somewhere in the middle, but never actually went one way or the other. Yeah. So they continued to do their thing, but they never went so pure that it was like, oh my God, I got to get my hands on this. And they also never went so crazy that it was, oh my God, I got to get this weird beer.
Yeah.
They made a great beer that has consistently been a great beer, but in the growing market, there's a shit ton of great beers. You can find them everywhere you go, and you can find wild variations of it and crazy things you never thought would be in a beer. So I think it really is. I'm a huge proponent of let the market dictate what the market wants. Like we talked about that with the Bud Light scandal, which is a funny term to use for that. But we talked about it with the Bud Light issue of why don't we just let the market dictate what it wants or doesn't want? If your buyer consists with this brand and they don't buy it, then you don't do well in business. That's the beauty of it. So I don't know where Anchor is in that capacity. I know I love that beer. I know I've had that beer a billion times. I agree with Andy in the growing craft world. When's the last time you had an Anchor Steam? When's the last time you sought it out and bought it?
No, exactly. And that was my exact thing. It's like, I was like, I know this brand, but I couldn't even remember kind of what it was. I definitely wasn't one I picked up a lot. I'm sure I've had them. I was reading a lot about, I think what most people are most disappointed in is their Christmas beer that I think everyone got. And so I think what they're really hitting is a lot of people are pissed off that they're not going to get this Christmas beer.
The Christmas beer is amazing if you haven't had it.
That plays into the nostalgia of it. That plays into your life. But it's like, but what were you doing the rest of the year for this brewery to make sure that they could keep making that Christmas beer?
For the record, Tiffany bought some Anchor beer a month ago. We don't fuck around. We drink that beer.
Well, I think she's from around that area, isn't she? She never mentions it. But
what? They're in Norway?
Yeah.
That's where Tiffany's originally from. No. Okay. Now, so I thought that was really interesting. The still shot that we showed of the story was from the AP, and it was a pretty well written story. It was pretty condensed. If you're interested to know more about it, go find out. Go read it. There's 50 different news outlets that have posted about it, and 50 different beer ad things that have posted about it, but the AP one was well written and well put together. So I would check that one out if you want more history and less opinion.
Yeah. Well, speaking of breweries that are going under soon.
Oh my God. Why would you say that?
Oh, sorry. I thought we were trashing on them tonight. Oh, all right. Well, maybe I should just cut myself out of this one.
Well, I guess we got to start over. No, I'm excited about tonight's show. So we have a brewery on and we have a guest on this evening, and that's always my favorite part about the show. Like Phil talked about earlier, we get the chance to talk to people that you may or may not have ever had their beer. You may not know they exist. You may not know where they are, and this is a nice, easy way to find out and figure out what beers again you should seek out. That's always my goal. Find a beer. Listen to people talk about beer, and if you think that's up your alley, go seek it out, go find it, go travel, go pick it up. But tonight I'm excited because we are doing a light beer, which is nice. When's the last time we had just a light beer on this show?
It's been a while.
God, it's been a minute. It has been a minute. So tonight we're doing a beer out of Crooked Hammock, which is out of Delaware, and we're doing a Hammock Light lager, which I'm excited about because it's 180,000 degrees across the entirety of the planet. So I'll take a nice Hammock Light lager any day of the week. But I do want to say before we get into the rigmarole of stuff, Hammock was great enough. They sent us the beer. They sent us some koozies. They really got us a lot of material to make this a lot more fun. And they had 16-ounce can koozies, which is wonderful. Because who drinks 12-ounce cans anymore? Let's get out of here.
This guy.
Well, it's here in St. Martin. Everything's a 5-ounce pour, but
yeah, everything's a 7.3 ounce.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
7.3 stones.
Which is weird because here I'm actually drinking a 12-ounce beer.
I noticed that. That is a little crazy.
That is interesting. I wonder who they're catering to. Probably the Dutch side.
Probably white tourist.
Yeah.
All right. So again, we're having Crooked Hammock on tonight out of Delaware. Larry, who's heavily involved both in the industry and also in Crooked Hammock, he's been around forever, is going to be joining us as well. I'm excited about that. I'd love to see what this brewery looks like. I assume, Phil, you went there last week in your time off and took some amazing pictures, photography.
It made a lot more sense for me to go than for you to go. So
I'm nowhere near Delaware.
Yeah, not even close. All right, let's take a look at what this place that says Crooked Hammock. I can already imagine what it's going to look like, but I also know because I made the video. All right.
Larry.
Welcome.
Daniel, Phil, what's up, guys?
How are you doing, buddy?
If I were any better, I'd be you.
Oh, God, then you'd have hair. That's a tough one.
I haven't had that for 30 years. Or it just moves south, right?
That's right. Yeah, you get a better beard. I just get this, apparently. That's fine.
I'm due for the old shape up because it's summer. And
Nice.
My lady's like, you just kind of look like old bald Jewish Santa Claus. And I'm like, yeah. She likes the beard, but she's like, you can pay somebody to do something with that.
That seems like a lot of work. I'm okay with that.
I'm not morally opposed.
Yeah, fair. Well, Dave obviously wants to say hello. If you're unfamiliar with Beer in Front, that's how we heard about Larry and heard about Crooked Hammock in general. He was recently on Beer in Front with Dave. It was a great episode. Go seek that out. Beer in Front. Get it wherever you get your podcast. It was a lot of fun, and ipso facto, I feel like I've kind of already talked to Larry based off of listening to that, which has made this even easier.
Oh, you got stuck listening to me drone for that whole show?
Well, it could be worse. You could be listening to Dave. Make a poison.
He's not a tease. He shows up.
Look, I listen to Dave when I go to sleep at night. That voice just puts me right to sleep.
He's got dulcet tones from the
Yes.
He does. So, Larry, thank you so much for stopping by. Again, like I mentioned earlier, thank you for sending us the beer, some of the swag, the koozies and stuff. We always appreciate that from a show standpoint. Like we saw in the pictures, you guys obviously have 2 locations, correct?
We have a total of 3, actually.
3 now.
So,
okay,
yep.
yeah.
2 of them are in Delaware, so
Okay.
a majority of the photographs I think Phil shot. Phil, did you go to Middletown or did you go down the beach?
You know what? I don't even know where I was. I was just traveling, taking photos.
You're like, what had happened was a bunch of PR shots showed up in my inbox. And,
Yeah, perfect.
Right. We're in Middletown, Delaware, which is in northern Delaware. We're in Lewes, Delaware, which is in southern Delaware, very near the beach. And then we are in North Myrtle Beach.
The North Myrtle Beach one strikes me as so crazy to be like Delaware, Myrtle Beach. Let's see what happens.
Well, you know how it goes when you're a company like us and you're trying to expand and develop your portfolio. You sometimes go where the opportunities for real estate are great, and we all know that the Southeast is a couple clicks behind the rest of the country on some things, and beer's one of them.
Yep, 90% of things. Correct answer.
You also got to create a great-looking beer called Myrtle Peach, which
it is taking over that market right now. I got to tell you, I love the beer. I think it's very well made, and my guy Kyle is the brewer down there, and this was done in collaboration with a couple of different people. And we make it because we do that kind of thing, and it's fun, it's cute. Our marketing team loves to work with that kind of stuff. But we wouldn't pay too much attention to it. And our distributor came to us and said, listen, we need more. And we're like, yeah. We'll give you 100 cases in a week or 2. They're like, no, we need like thousands of cases of this beer. Yeah. And I'm like, can I write that down somewhere? Do you want to say that? Send that to me in an email, will you?
Can you sign here?
That's right. I mean, distribution and for small breweries is always a fraught topic. Mm-hmm. And we're with a solid house in that market. And I was shocked. I don't know exactly why. I'm not going to look the gift horse in the mouth, right? We're just going to try to take it home. But I have our market rep down there is a guy named Peter, and Peter's like, just give me the liquid. Give me the liquid. Every time I turn around, it's vaporizing. For a while, I thought, well, it's just a kitschy vacation vibe, right? Like, and when you go on vacation, you always buy the T-shirt, right?
Right.
And it's basically a can-shaped T-shirt.
Yeah, get you a beer that you can't get back home. You're on the beach. Yeah.
You got it. It's something to send to your brother-in-law for a little #jealousy, right?
Right.
And what I've been shocked to find out is that the locals are drinking it, right? So I'm like, all right, well, that's a good sign. There's a market that's got a couple of legacy breweries in it that have been doing good liquid for a long time. And
true story.
Yeah, right. And when you think of Tidal Creek and a few of the other locals, I'm proud that people are drinking it and liking it. And transient summer markets are always difficult because I live in Lower Delaware, where our corporate headquarters is, and there's 1 million people in the entire state of Delaware most of the time, and at this time of the year, all 1 million people are in Lower Delaware.
Correct.
But in the wintertime, I can drive straight to work without taking my foot off the gas.
That sounds familiar. So I know
where you are, right?
Yeah, like Virginia Beach. Virginia Beach is the same way. 4 or 5 months of the year, you can go spend all day down there and never have any issues. And then, June, July, August, September, you can't get close to it.
I've vacationed here for years and worked for one of our competitors who's from Delaware. Yeah. And first of all, nobody in the country knows where Delaware is. Even the lawyers that file all their paperwork in the state of Delaware are like, is that like near Arkansas?
I mean, the Midwest is confusing in there. Just a lot of shapes, no ocean or river to shape it. I don't know either.
Yeah, facts, right? I grew up in the Midwest, and people are like, you grew up near Iowa, right? I just say yes.
Sure. Yeah, it's close to Chicago. Yeah,
perfect. You can fly there in an hour, so
I love it. So, Larry, where do you come from in this beer world? I mean, obviously you're involved with Crooked Hammock, but I also know you have like a crazy
My CV's nuts. So somehow we get old as humans, right? Like I'm not a senior citizen just yet. Although I will tell you, the AARP found my mailbox, and this is not cool. Right?
Oh shit!
And I'm like, somebody's like, you could dye your beard. I'm like, look, I'm not vain. I mean, cut it out, right?
Yeah, I don't care.
So I started at a large brewery in the Midwest, whose name you would know, but I'm not going to talk about them because they get plenty of PR. And I studied engineering in school, and I did not start out my career as a hobby brewer, although I've spent a lot of time making hobby beer. And that was in 1992. So this is my 31st year in the industry. I was looking around trying to find, because this is pre-social, right?
Yeah.
Like we get spoiled. Like Facebook Memories tells me all the stuff I did for the last 15 years. Yep. But before that, you got to think about it. And
I got to take out the Polaroids.
Literally, right? Yeah. And I'm like, somewhere there's a scrapbook that somebody made, not me, right?
Right.
And I was not a great fit for a large multinational for a lot of reasons. I was young and passionate and excited about beer. And those large breweries at that time really weren't excited about beer. They were excited about money. And while the organization that I worked for did make some of the best beer in the world, the flavor was lacking a smidge, right?
Yeah.
So I ended up going to work for a craft brewery in Columbus, Ohio, while I finished up at Ohio State. And my career hasn't gone back from there. I was really fortunate in the early days. I worked for a brewery called Hoster Brewing Company, which has been resurrected by a friend of mine in Columbus, Ohio. And we'll see whether they can fight their way back through to the market. But in a very unusual twist of fate, you're going to get a kick out of this, Daniel, because it's a connection for you. That organization hired a man named Alan Young, who used to work at Chesbay.
Correct.
And then
I know the name.
Yeah, you do. And for a very long time worked at the Gordon Biersch there in Virginia Beach.
Yep.
We're part of the old guy surfing club, he and I. And he sucked me in, and he was like, "Hey, we make lager beer here." I'm like, "Yeah, I just came from a place where we make 10 million barrels of that a year, right?"
Correct.
I'm like, "That's not a surprise." He's like, "No, and this sector of the industry is a shock. Nobody does that, right?" Breweries started with 4 fermenters.
Yeah.
I have a good friend who runs a brewery in Philadelphia who famously worked at the John Harvards in Cambridge Square. They had 2 fermenters and they were making almost 2,000 barrels of beer a year, right? And I'm like,
yeah,
how old was that beer? And he's like, I don't know, what time is it?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Like, did it like diacetyl problematic fermentations? He's like, it didn't matter. We would brew it on Monday and sell it on Friday, and the tank would be empty. So we'd brew it on Monday and sell it on Friday.
I love it.
Like, what can you do, right?
That's a different animal, man.
Oh, it totally is. So from there, I worked for a series of craft breweries all across the country, and got indoctrinated early on into what this industry was at that time. I mean, today is a really interesting day to be having this conversation, right? Because the closing of Anchor, I'm gonna give you a little bit more perspective on that one, Daniel, because I have great strong feelings about specifically Fritz Maytag, but to an extent his organization, right?
Yeah.
That man and that brewery wouldn't be hyperbolic to say they were responsible for the craft beer revolution in America.
I will agree with that statement.
I mean, if you listen to there was a gig for a while, Fritz Maytag and Ken Grossman did kind of a, I don't want to, what would we call it? It's not really a victory tour or a victory lap, but 2 buddies going on. But it was a buddy show road trip sitch.
They went on a road trip. That's all. That's exactly what that is. Yeah.
Right. It's like, yo, road trip? Yes. Right. Which is hilarious because, Fritz went to Stanford to study literature, and he's always talking about Dionysus and philosophy. And Ken's just wicked, super smart and very terse and awesome, right? But
awesome.
Exactly. Do you want a beer? Yes. You want to tell us about your beer? You're gonna love it. In any case, they sit down, and I had the great pleasure to basically sit in the green room with them before they went on stage at a thing. Cool. And I'm talking to the 2 of them, and I'm like, "How'd you guys meet?" And Ken's like, "Well, I was up the road and he had a big brewery and I needed help and there wasn't anybody around." Right. I mean, he famously worked with Dr. Michael Lewes and some of the people at UC Davis, but even that program was in its infancy. And he said, "Listen, I showed up at the Anchor Brewery, and first of all, Fritz is a mensch, man. This guy is as nice as the day is long. He will help anybody, which is one of the things I love about this industry, right?
Yeah.
If you run into somebody who's a jerk, that's really unusual, and they usually don't stick around.
Yeah, they typically go out of business pretty quickly.
Right. If you can't hold your liquor and you're not a nice person, off with you.
It's like John Mallett. No.
Look, he's a crotchety dude, but I love that man. I would lay down in traffic for the Mallett.
So we literally, when this show was in its infancy, somehow I just reached out to Bill's and I was like, "Hey, we're going to be doing Two Hearted on the show," and they're like, "Great, we'll send you John Mallett." I said, "I'm sorry."
It was our 9th episode.
Our 9th episode.
So
we're just talking to John Mallett. He's leaving frame to let his cats out. Like, we've been joking on him ever since about it. But yeah, absolutely.
So we loved having him, but he's so much fun to joke about.
Best hair in the business, straight up.
Let's not get out of hand.
His hair is strong, man. It is strong.
His hair game is strong,
and he's got the best purple pants too. Like, I was in Philadelphia with him, and there was this whole arm wrestling drag show situation. I love this industry, right? Yeah. I'm in the lobby of this is Craft Brewers, I don't know, 15 years ago. And I walk into the lobby and there's a bunch of people, including Mallett, basically dressed in drag to go to a show. And I was like, what, nobody called?
Nobody called.
He's like, it's cool. We'll see in a bit. And he's drinking one of my locals, right? And I mean, I'm like, attaboy, right? Like, some of the best beer in the world's come out of the breweries that are run by that man. And I'm stoked. Anyway, I'm falling down my love for Mallett rabbit hole.
No, that's okay. So we're gonna
do it a lot too.
Real quick before we keep moving and get further into Crooked Hammock specifically. Tonight we're drinking Hammock Light out of Crooked Hammock, out of Delaware. 2 locations in Delaware and 1 sporadically in Myrtle Beach, which I love.
It's a monster.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and crack this beer so that as we continue to talk, we can get a full round picture of it like we always do. Phil's in St. Martin, and the Dutch hate illegal beer trade, so it's hard to get them to them. So I have yours here at the house, Phil, and we'll send it to you once you're in the States so that you can enjoy it as well.
Deal. I like it nice and old, so please.
Well, hopefully you're not in St. Martin for the entire summer and you'll come back while it's still fresh, right?
Correct. It'll be fine. In worst case scenario, I got to pee after the show. I'll send them that right off the bat because they don't test that. But beer, you cannot send.
I heard you were going to trash the product, so I'm not going to get too far in the way of that. But and I'll tell you more about my career in just a minute. But you want to hear what I have to say about this beer?
I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, while we do distribute a limited amount of beer into the wholesale trade, that's not our primary business model, right? We're brew pubs. Sure. We're brewery restaurants with a lifestyle vibe. You know, we specifically in Lower Delaware and to a great extent in Myrtle Beach, we're basically the spot where you can bring your kids and have them go crazy on the jungle gym in the backyard, right? While you get a beer. Where I live in the summer, as we discussed, there's a bajillion people around. A lot of restaurants don't take reservations for really good reasons, right? It's hard to manage that. The crowds coming off the beach sometimes can make it to the spot they plan to be. A lot of times can't, which means that there are often exceedingly long waits to eat and or drink in this area, especially with a family. And our place has a vibe about it that says, hey, take a breath, right? Kick back, relax. There's literally hammocks and yard games and beer. And, you know, if you're going to wait 2 hours for a table, it's a whole lot easier to do with this in your hand.
Yeah.
Watching your kids do this than not, right? So because of that, I said, listen, we need beer flavored beer. We need yellow, crisp, clean, very well made lager beer, because we know that regardless of how much I love the craft beer industry, and I really do, the number one style in the world is still, you know, basically premium Pilsner. Yeah. You know, and all the work that Modelo is doing to beat back the ABI portfolio is noted, but we also got to take notice of the fact that it's basically still this beer.
Correct. Yeah. I was going to say, we're doing a lot of the Lord's work, but it's the same.
You know, the Lord sometimes just has to drink through it like the rest of us, right?
He works in mysterious ways, I hear.
Indeed he does. It's so mysterious, I never see him.
Oh, God, we're in the same boat.
You show us 7 and 9, try the veal, tip the waitress. So the group at Hammock and I are simpatico. I was running a brewery in Louisville, Kentucky for the last 3 or 4 years. And I basically left my brother-in-law behind with that at Tank 20 Craft Brewery. And it was a similar kind of situation, taproom brewery, although the pandemic made a lot of weird stuff happen.
Yeah.
And I got here and everybody's like, well, what are you going to do that's novel? And I said, well, the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to make a product that people want to drink when they come to the beach, because we're a restaurant first and foremost, and we know that. And while we are a brewery and we are super proud of that, I know that customers want to drink crisp, clean, relatively low alcohol, refreshing beer when they're having a burger in the backyard, right?
Yep.
We do a lot of beer that pushes the boundaries of what a backyard is or could be, and we're stoked about that. And there's some really strong, beautiful sour stuff in our portfolio. But you won't be shocked to know that this is quickly becoming our number one selling product, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, of course.
We've committed to not serving national brands for lots of reasons, not the least of which is we paid for breweries. So we'd like them to earn the keep. And another part of that is if we believe we can make it, and I believe we can and have, then there's no reason to do that, and not to disparage the work that's done at those big brewers or the people who enjoy their products. But, when you come to us for an experience, we want to make sure we give you one, not necessarily just hand you the Bud Light we were talking about earlier. Right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's one of the fun things that we've had the experience with on the show, of talking to different people and getting to see different people's brands and business models within the craft beer world. Is I think everyone is looking for that like beer experience.
Yeah.
If I'm going to a craft brewery, I don't want a rotating tap handle of one of the largest suppliers in the United States or the world for that matter. I want what you brewed last week. I want it to be fresh. I want to find out what you're doing different. And for me, I want a tick mark on Untapped. Don't judge me.
Right. I'm not judging, I like the list. I'm getting to the point where if I don't tick the box, I'm not remember I drank it.
Correct. I'm in the same boat.
Right. So let me tell you about this product specifically.
Yeah, please do. So
one of the things that we've done is we've chosen a relatively traditional approach to the product, but I'm fortunate because we sell most of our beer over our bar. I get a little more latitude for raw goods. So we're buying high quality premium Pilsner malt from North America, specifically from the Canadian Shield. We're using German Hallertau middle fruit hops, some Pearly when we can, 3470. So, basically Munich lager yeast. And while there is some adjunct in this beer, it's there to enhance the flavor, not to detract from it, right?
Yeah, I was going to say it's not overwhelming at all. It's just an enhancer of the actual base.
It helps us to keep that flavorful but dry, that dry palate, right?
Yeah.
And people are like, I don't know why we're going to spend in my group. We're like, I don't know why we're going to spend our time making, we're pretty transparent with each other. Like, I don't know why we spend our time making cheap beer. I'm like, well, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, we age it a full 28 days as a minimum, right? I'm like,
I would say you're brewing a lager. If you're doing it well and you're doing it right, it's not cheap.
Yeah, you got it. So, what we didn't do was dump $1 million worth of gold flakes in it and put sprinkles and whipped cream on top of it.
Well, it's going to be the worst middle school party ever then.
Yeah, I'm not a complete hater. There's some breweries out there that's their jam, and you know who you are. And
literally, it's jam beer now.
It's jam beer.
Yeah, there's jam sours. That's what's happening.
It's a thing, and we make a decent amount of that product, and I got to tell you that while I don't find that category of styles to be the kind of thing that I can drink all day long while I'm sitting by the pool. I am interested in what's going on with that because I think it's innovative and exciting. Yep. And while I talk a lot about beer flavored beer, and I call this beer flavored beer, I like that idea because again, it's pushing the boundaries of what can be done around beer. And I'm also excited that anything that stays, to your point earlier, Phil, about Anchor not really changing in all those years. You got jams. Nice. Love it. Not changing in all those years. I call it's the shark move, right? If you're not moving, you're dying. So, that might mean a big circle all the way back to yellow clarified lager beer. And I'll let you in on a dirty secret. We filtered this beer.
You know what? So I've had a.
Well, you're out, Larry. You're done. We're closing it. The show's over.
I've had a quarter of it already, and I was like, I think this is a filtered beer. Like,
Now, there are lots of ways to clarify beer that don't include filtration. And there's a ton of people on the planet, especially friends of mine who are great beer consumers, who will tell you that anything that's been filtered is heinous and of the devil, and we shall speak of it no more. But I'm like, here's my thing. A filter in a brewery is a tool, right? Yep. If you're a carpenter and you come to me and you say, I don't have a ball peen hammer because I don't believe in ball peen hammers. I'm like, well, that seems short-sighted because what if you need a ball peen hammer?
Enjoy barn raising then, you dummy, because I'm going to be using this other power tool that's way faster. Same end result.
I should pick a bigger hammer, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Get you a bigger hammer, Larry.
I'm speaking of the mallet. He famously worked for many years in his career at a brewery that was passionate about not filtering beer, right?
Yep.
And he and I could poke fun about that all day long. But at the end of the day, lots of things clarify beer that aren't filters, right? Time, gravity, a centrifuge is basically a clarifying agent, chemical stabilizers and clarifying agents. And all a filter really is a time machine, right?
That's it. It just speeds the process, man. You're already 21 to 28 days on this beer. If we can cut down another 2 days in the clarification process, why not?
Well, and in addition to that, it creates a really shelf-stable product. So, I mean, we're all here for hype beer, right? Like Hazy New England, the Treehouse Boys, and everybody north of Boston into the Vermont and the Hampshire area. They're making beautiful beers, and I want to drink those beers, and I really want to drink them fresh at the brewery. But if I see them on a shelf in Lower Delaware, warm, and the date was 3 months ago, right? Like,
you're gonna need to roll that can. It's gonna give real legitimacy to don't pour in a glass, drink out of the can, because you don't want to see it at that point.
It's too easy, right? I mean, I love those guys, and they make some really stunningly beautiful beer. We're talking about alcohol. But I teach at the American Brewers Guild from time to time. Steve Parks, the guy who owns that place, is a good friend of mine.
Roller skating or mainly beer stuff?
Yeah. Well, I did sport drinking. Middle-aged sport drinking.
I love it.
Start early, end early, right?
That's right.
And they're right down the street, and of course the beer world's small, and they'll bring products by, and it's too easy to poke fun at those guys and be like, why can't I pour it in a glass?
They put it on the can, and granted, with the history of there, I get it, because nobody was ready for that unclear of a beer at the time.
Oh, we would text pictures back and forth with twigs sticking out of the can, right? I see what you did there. I see you. I see it. So, there was a time there where that wasn't going to be a thing, but I think we've come full circle on it, because while that style's awesome, I mean, it's got limits, right? I mean, and we know it's got limits because now we're seeing people shove just about everything into the can, right?
Well, and it's like you said, it's distribution limits, it's shelf life limits. It's, granted, you can turn and burn it in a fermenter like it's going out of style, but
2 weeks.
Right. But in a month, when it's sitting on a shelf somewhere at room temperature, is it still the product you want to push? Is it still your best beer?
You got it. I was on a train with the Treehouse guys recently because the Amtrak goes up and down, and for whatever reason, I get on in Wilmington, Delaware once in a while. I bump into them, and they were coming up out of DC one day, and I was like, bar car? And they're like, yes, we will have a high life with you in the bar car.
I love it.
I'm like, are you still selling all that beer right at your own place? And they're like, 100%. I'm like, distribution plans? Like, we don't believe our beer will survive distribution. And I was like, man, what a commitment to quality, right? What a commitment to quality. So it's pretty awesome. Anyway, back to this product. I fell down a rabbit hole there.
I got you. I'm for it.
Part of the reason we do this is for shelf stability, but mostly it's because I believe it stabilizes the flavor even on draft out of bulk for us, because we do serve beer directed to the faucets from the brewery, especially in Lower Delaware. Right. And, we're working hard to keep and attract consumers who maybe wouldn't self-identify as craft beer drinkers or beer drinkers in general. Right. Because the industry got a little twee for a while, and people were like, I don't know if I identify with that. And my thing is, we're craftsmen, and we should be able to do both. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can make fruited milkshake sour beers with imperial alcohol contents, and I can do triple, quadruple dry hop twig infused New England IPA all day long, and I like to drink it when it's fresh. But we have to serve many masters. We have to, in any given week, 20 to 30,000 people come through one of our locations, and a big chunk of them are like, I don't know. They don't understand how to approach our product. Right.
Yeah.
And this really helps that conversation a lot. Plus, frankly, when I'm on the golf course, I just want to crush a bunch of them. Right. You know?
That's always my thing. And
for the record, I don't golf. I just like to crush beer on the golf course.
Yeah. I just like golf carts.
None of us golf. Yeah.
Yeah. None of us golf.
Polo with golf carts.
Correct.
So we make another lager beer because I'm quickly moving my way through this light. Sure. In Delaware only, we make a beer called Actively Fishing. There's a big drive-on culture here, and sorry about that. And the state of Delaware Department of Natural Resources has decided that if you want to drive your truck onto the beach, go team.
You have to be fishing.
You have to not just be fishing; you have to be actively fishing. Right? And I love
it. I love it.
I can't be passively fishing. I'm like, because half the reasons one would fish would be
to passively fish. Like that's the idea.
That's the whole point. If I'm on a boat and the boat's moving, I'm not fishing.
I'm passively fishing.
I'm passive. How can I drink whiskey and drive at the same time?
Right. Very carefully. I did a lot of that in high school.
Yeah, I wouldn't know anything about that. Furiously fishing. There is definitely a T-shirt in that.
Yeah, that's what we seek out. It's just T-shirts.
Yeah, we're in the T-shirt sale business.
So Larry, what does Crooked Hammock have coming up? Do you guys have any beers you're excited about? Any big events you have coming up? Like what's going on?
We're right in the middle of our summer promo, which is Shark Week, baby. Mm-hmm. And we put out a sour beer called Lord, I just lost my mind.
I have it in the other room. Do you need me to go grab it?
Shark Party.
Sorry, today was a long day. There was a whole Red Bull situation at a bar near our corporate headquarters.
That's fair.
Yeah, there you go. Shark Party. So, come on. How can we not poke fun at Shark Week? It's just too easy. There's a subset of people who hang out in this area who come to the beach but won't get in the water, right? Because they're like, there's great whites out there. And, there's dolphins all over the place, right?
Yeah, they just see a fin.
It's too easy to poke fun at them, too. Because there's one. You should definitely not get in the water.
Wow, now with that Shark Party going on, I wouldn't.
So Shark Party's going on right now. That beer is available for sale. We have a loyalty club called Backyard Beer Club.
Nice.
And those beers are picking up now. Party this weekend for that, for obvious reasons. And then we're gonna move into the fall pretty quickly here. I hate to say that because I'm really kind of enjoying summer, even though
it's Delaware. You're 3 days out from potentially being in fall somehow already.
I will say though, I've been really pleasantly surprised. I think you probably have this kind of weather where you are too, Daniel, where the lower bay and the ocean around there just kind of holds the temp just a little bit. Yep. So, the tourists leave around Labor Day for the most part. There's a lot of people who are smart.
And then we still have like another month where nobody's here, but the weather is still perfect.
I get every wave I want if I go surfing, right?
Correct.
I have really terrible weather down here in St. Martin. So if you guys could stop talking about the weather, it'd be wonderful.
What do you mean down here? Where the fuck is St. Martin?
Equatorial somewhere or other.
I thought you were in like Nova Scotia, like Oak Island area.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Well, the earth is flat, Daniel. So
the palm trees make sense now.
Flat-ish.
Yeah. We're not quite Kyrie Irving. We're somewhere smarter than him.
Well, I don't want to break my arm patting myself on the back, but I watched that ship sail over the horizon.
I love it.
So Larry, we'll roll into fall. I'll tell you this. Sorry, I sidetracked myself. We're going to roll into fall pretty soon. So we do Crooktoberfest. We've got a few wildly famous local beers in the smoothie sour category and in the pastry sour category. So nice. For the holidays, we do Jingleberry, and we also do a beer called Frankenboo, which is basically an excuse to open 100 boxes of Frankenberry and Blueberry cereal and put it in the mash tun. If you'd have told me 30 years ago I would be endorsing that, I would have told you were smoking crack. But the beer's great.
Yeah, I'm for it, man.
And it makes for a great party, right? Like, trinkets for the kids and for the adults too.
If you'd have told me 30 years ago I was smoking crack, I'd have said, "Oh, did you see me?" and then I would have left. So yeah, it's pretty accurate.
No proof. There's no proof.
The internet wasn't around, not in the capacity. So unless somebody had like a shoulder rocket viewing me from afar, but there's no chance.
Right? It's crazy. It's crazy. When are you back from Phil? When are you back from the Saint somewhere?
I live here, so I'm here.
Oh, you are in it to win it.
Yeah. He comes back to the States with some regularity. Obviously, he's got family over here because he's
I spend about 10 months, 8 to 10 months here a year. So
you leave for hurricane season?
Exactly. Coming up.
He's a trooper. He stays for hurricane season.
I stay for hurricane season. I leave for the really nice weather.
You got calm summer right now, or are you guys getting rainy season?
It's been rainy and cloudy so far. It's been real weird here.
Yeah.
So it goes. You still get to walk to the beach just about every day if you want to, right?
I do. Yeah, I can walk to the nude beach from my apartment. So
he's also technically not allowed to drive due to some recent DUI history, but that's fine. Yes, he can walk to the beach, Larry.
There are no DUIs in St.
Thanks for bringing it up.
Right. They're like, listen, you can drive across the entire island in like a quarter of a tank of gas. So
correct.
Don't hit the goat. Don't hit the goats.
Don't hit a tree. Don't hit a goat.
If you hit the tree and it doesn't hurt anybody but yourself, that's fine. Just don't run the goat over.
Fair. Well, Larry, listen, I just want to say a big shout out to you guys over at Crooked Hammock. Thank you for sending us all the beer. Thanks for being on the show. I really enjoyed your show with Dave. I was really happy that y'all reached out to us on Dave's suggestion. So thank you again as well, Dave. But really enjoyed having you here. We're gonna obviously tank this beer on the review, so we're gonna let you go. No,
we talked about you enjoyed your brewery while you had it.
I will bribe for fives. Bribes for fives.
Bribes for five. Welcome to our life. Yeah, if you send us $5 an episode, I will talk about your beer as if it's the best beer in the world.
That may be the best value and promotional spends we have this year.
Gentlemen, listen, Larry. Cheers, man. Really appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much. Anytime you want to swing by the show, and I know where you're at in Delaware, so I will come find you.
Hey, if you land in the area, you got to hit me up, right? My people will tell your people how to talk to me through my people, and then you just text me and we'll do that thing at the beach where we drink beer.
I'll just send you a Snapchat. Is that what the kids are doing?
Somebody in my household will pick up the phone and say, people are trying to talk to you, right?
That's right. All right, Larry. Cheers, man. Go get in the pool. Thank you so much for stopping by.
My pleasure.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Larry.
Awesome, man.
All right. Let's trash this beer.
Let's get into this beer. I'm ready for it. We should review it.
We should.
Yeah, we should hit the review.
If I had it.
Boy, you are real slack on that shit tonight.
You know what?
I had a real tired day in the cloudy St. Martin weather. Fuck off, Phil. All right. Tonight, if you haven't kept up with the show, we are doing a beer out of Crooked Hammock out of Delaware. It's called a Hammock Light Lager. If you're just catching up with us for some dumb reason, we had Larry on. Go back and find that because it's going to be way better than this review. The beer was great, but my review is going to be terrible of it because I'm ignorant.
Well, before you get into it, since I don't have the beer tonight, I'm going to use a little bit of I'm going to review can art.
I forgot you don't have the beer, Phil. I'm so sorry.
We're literally just reviewing it. So I'm going to review can art then. Since that's my thing.
Let's do it.
I'm bringing this up.
Yep.
So I don't know. I mean, Dan, you'll have to tell me if this description's right. You know how I am about words and descriptions on beers.
Yeah, you can't read. So yeah, I'll read it to you.
On there if you're not going to be it, but all their can art is killer on this. I mean,
I agree.
When he mentioned their marketing team, I was like, man, that's a team I'd want to be on because this can art is so fun.
Yep.
Everything they do. I mean, I can't score the beer, but I can score all this can art. This is like a 5 can art for me right here. Especially banana hammock. But I was expecting that one.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah. So I mean, overall for me, I mean, they're just killing it with the can art. I think it's definitely helping the sales. It's like Myrtle peach, like it's all the beers. If I saw these beers, I'd be like, yep, I want all of them. Like they look like a good time. So yeah. Killing it there. So that's the only portion of this that I can give to.
No, that's completely fair. And I agree with you. I think the can art fits extremely well with not only the demographic they're in, but the beer that they're making really well based off of this one. Granted, I haven't had their sours and stuff. They were nice enough to send us those as well. So if you keep up on our Untappd, I'll be having those throughout the rest of the week. I'm going to wait for Tiffany to get back so she can have a couple of them as well. But I thought this one was really interesting, and I drank about half of the beer before I actually got into the can and read it a little bit. But 4.2%. 10 IBUs, 165 calories, and it tastes like a fucking beer. So this is always a crazy dynamic for me because we have a lot of breweries in the area, nationally, all these different places that are actually trying to make this beer and make it well. But I think Larry hit the nail on the head earlier. Like, yeah, we filter it. Oh, cat's out of the bag. Like, that's a strike against them. The clarity on the beer is beautiful. It's a gorgeous yellow beer. It tastes like a beer. And it's still low calorie count. It's easy beach drinking. It's exactly what it claims to be, which again, if you're familiar with the show, we're going to gauge these beers off of similar styles of the beer that we've had, not just, this is the first time I'm having this style of beer knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
So for what this beer portrays itself as versus how it comes across, it's exactly what it is. It's fantastic.
Is this a beer that you would buy a 24 pack of 12 ounces?
Okay, so it's not a Narragansett. But that Narragansett has a long history. No.
It's that style of beer though, where like, I'd want the 12-ounce cans and a bunch of them in my fridge.
This is exactly what this beer is.
Yeah.
So we're going to go paddleboarding all day down the river. Yeah. I'm going to throw as many of these into my cooler that fits on my paddleboard as I can. We're going to the beach for the day. Yeah. Give me a 30 rack of it. Even 16 ounces is fine. Give me it's 4 point. Come on, man. You know, we drink beer. Yeah. No, but I think this beer is exactly what it promotes itself as. And it's a really crisp, clean lager at the same time. So if you like beer and like you understand beer, this beer is exactly what it should be. If you don't know anything about beer and you read the can, it's exactly what this beer should be. So enjoy it on the beach, enjoy it in the tap house, enjoy the notes on it, enjoy the process of how long this beer takes to make, even though how seemingly simple it is. But no, this is a fantastic fucking beer. Plain and simple.
Well, you're the solo scorer tonight, so.
Oh, so whatever I say,
whatever you say goes.
Fine, 2.75. After all that talk, no, I'm just kidding.
That's what I would think. Yeah.
No, actually, good
luck, Larry. No.
For this style and for what this beer is, honestly, this is a 4.5 for me. This is exactly where it should be. The flavor's gorgeous. The clarity's gorgeous. Can art's great. Like it is right in the lane it should be.
Nice.
The only way it would be a 5 is if they added some lactose, maybe a couple other adjuncts, and called it a smoothie lager.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Yeah. No, but this is great. And when I was reading about them, I love they're in Delaware. I've been to Delaware multiple times, Larry. I do know where y'all live.
Thank God it's not Maryland.
Oh, God, are you kidding me? Then this would be a crab lager. That's kind of shitty crab. Like, I don't want to talk about Maryland. It's not important. No, but honestly, I dig this beer. I know when Tiffany gets back, she's going to love this beer. This is right up her alley as well. Phil, I'm going to send them to Vero so that next time you're in town, we'll cryogenically freeze it. You can enjoy it as well at its crispy boy status.
I do love a crispy boy.
I do love a good crispy boy.
Yeah, nothing like a crispy twink. Wait, what?
No, that's a different.
No. Yeah. Great score then for this beer.
Yeah, 100%. And again, Larry, I want to thank you for stopping by. Crooked Hammock was great enough to send us all the things that we needed. There's a lot of great correspondence involved in it as well. We really appreciate that from a show standpoint. And also just nice to talk to somebody who has been in that world long enough and understands that world long enough. That's always nice.
Yeah.
So thank you, Larry.
Yeah, we do want to appreciate Crooked Hammock for coming on, Larry for coming on. That was a great. Some of the stories, man, and the fact that we got to bring up the mallet again tonight just always pleases.
The fact that we got to bring it up within relevance,
yes,
is even better.
But we do have another show next week. We haven't figured out yet what we're doing next week, so keep an eye on our social media. We'll post about it. We are at the end of my travels of beers, so we got to figure this out. But I think we've got some coming your way that were brought to me from Vera on her trip here.
Oh, true story. Yeah.
So we do have some. We just haven't not worked it out yet.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on our social, on our website. We're going to post what beer we're having. We've got some good ones coming up. I took a look at what we've got, so it should be good.
I got the box yesterday, so I'm also excited.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So as you all know, we are here every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Check out Wish You Were a Beer Show for all our past episodes. If you want to support the show, you can buy us a beer on the website. You can buy shirts, hats, and all that stuff. You can buy these great shirts that we're currently wearing. If you're wondering how to say apricot,
phonetically, it's very difficult to figure out, but I think you could.
It's a conversation piece.
Oh, it is.
But we appreciate everyone for coming in. We'll see y'all next week. Daniel, enjoy your night, man.
Also, see you next week. Why did you call me out about it? It's fine. Just end the show. It's